Now, I've been asked to talk about spiritual formation for the first session today. Formation basically means how God uh, prepares you and I for whatever He has for us. And God is the only one person I know takes time to develop His spirit. It takes time to develop us. But we Christians don't like to take time to develop. And development is a process. So when we're talking about spiritual formation, we are talking about the process of God grooming, the process of God training, the process of God preparing us for what He has for us. You know, where the reason why we have a lot of casualties today in marriage or in some institutions, the fact that failure to prepare is preparation to fail. It's preparation to fail. So many times, many of us want to do things. Have you not seen that it's only in Christianity that somebody receive a call from God today and tomorrow he starts a church? How many of you would like to go to a clinic, a medical clinic, where somebody just woke up today and said to his mother, Mom, I have to be a doctor. Dad, I will be a doctor, and tomorrow he open a clinic. How many would like to attend that clinic? Because the fact that his desire is this means he still has a long time to go. He will have to go. Let's even say he has a WAHEG degree certificate. He's still not qualified to be a doctor. He still has to go to the med school, still has to go to the university. He still has about 7 years minimum to be trained before he can say. In fact, as soon as he's trained, he's still not qualified to open a clinic. Yeah. He still has to be a junior doctor in an establishment. He still has to be trained a few years before he can say, I want to open a clinic. But I don't know how we think that God calls you today and tomorrow you have a signboard near in front of your house, right in front of your house, and on the way to Heaven International Church. You are a casualty waiting to happen. Not only you as a casualty, but even the people that come to you. You are a disaster waiting to happen. But we don't think it should be there. And that's the most important God's work upon the earth. It's the work of the church. It's the most important work to do. Why? Because you are dealing with lives that can perish forever. You are dealing with lives that if you get it wrong with them, the whole of eternity is at stake. Every other profession has their tenure here. But Christian work, the pastoral work, tenure extends beyond the earth. It reaches to heavens, to eternity. So, in terms of, you may not get to heaven depending on what you are hearing in the church in which you say you are planted, if you are planted at all. So when we are talking about spiritual formation, we are talking about God calling you and I. Many of us that are here this morning, let me see your hands up if you are a pastor or a church. Please lift up your hands. Okay. Sizable number of us. But do you think those are the ones that I'm talking to today? I'm talking to every one of us. Why? Because every one of us have to be spiritually prepared for whatever God has for us. And God doesn't change the process just because He sends you to the vineyard to go and work. Every one of us is a minister. Because there is nothing like saying, I'm in the secular work, I am in the church work. Anywhere you find your work, Colossians 3:23. What does he say? He says, whatever you do unto the Lord, he said, do it, whatever you do it heartily as unto the Lord. So many of you will think, I am not called. No, you are called. Romans 1:17, he calls us saved, called to be saved. There is a dimension of calling to be saved, and there is a dimension of call to walk from God. And both of us, all of us occupy both positions before God. You are called to be saved, and you are called to do a workmanship for the Lord. Ephesians 20 says that. It says we are God's creation, and a workmanship is determined of us when we are on this side. But I want you to know that with all that, God takes time to prepare His people, and therefore we that are also over the other people that God has given unto us, we must know that God is preparing or has prepared and is still preparing. In fact, the good thing is that He forever prepare us while on this side of heaven. There is no time of graduation. But as you progress and as you mature in the things of God, you will be committing more things into your hand and expanding your reach. And as your capacity is increasing, it will be also increasing your reach. So this afternoon, basically, I'm going to start off with understanding God's spiritual formation template. There is a template that God uses for all of us and for everything that God's created, because God is a developer of people and of ideas. God is a developer. God is not only just a creator, God is also a developer, and it takes time to develop things. Even if He gives you a call that you are going to be great, better go to bed actively, because it's going to take time before you become great. It's going to take a process to bring you to that greatness He has said about your life. So it's in God's spiritual formation template. The first of things we must understand that God is a God of order. And so He creates structure to ensure order. I know many of us don't like order. We try. I remember a friend of mine who came to UK, and is quite rich, or he's rich, and he comes to UK and come. I said, but bro, because he spends within a month, he can come to UK about twice sometimes. I said, why don't you say anything? He said, no, I can't say anything. He said, you guys are too orderly. You are too orderly. So he drives up the chaos of Nigeria. There are people who don't want honors in this country. And you may think they are those ones up there, even you yourself. I have seen those who have been to food court wanting to buy food, and somebody will just come from the back. I said, bro, back off. What are you doing? I said, go and set the queue. Both old and young and small. They will think those who are before them, they are just moons. They haven't gone any time. I said, one can you come to the what is it called? To the thing. You see them jumping. I said, what's the problem? And you are blaming the country. And you yourself are part of the disorderliness of the country. And it's become a culture. If it's not disorderly, then we'll find order in our disorderliness. And we find the kind of order that even baffles you and say, why are people thinking like this? So there is a need for the orientation. Even when it comes to the work of God, because God does things in order. He even says that God is not a God of confusion. I think in 1 Corinthians 15:33 or 14:33, one of the two. He said, God is not a God of confusion, but is a God of order in all the churches of the saints. So God wants order. And if there is no order, there can be no increase. Order precedes increase. Order is what we call when you have a structure. God hates disorder and confusion. So he seeks to create order by first creating structure. If you look at the narrative of God's creation of the earth, you will discover that order. You will see order clearly delineated there. Why? Because whatever God created on the fifth day needs what he created on the fourth day to be sustained. Whatever God created on the first day, the rest of the creation for the next 6 days needs what is created on the first day. Without what he created on the first day, there can be no sustainability. And whatever God created on the fifth day needs what is going to be created on the sixth day to need what is created on the fifth day for it to be able to be alive. So from that, God creates a system. When you talk about leadership is not complete. It's you yourself. You can't do much until you begin to work in a system. Your body working, your normal physiology of your body follows a system. There are principal several systems in your body that make you to be a human being. If any one of them is distorted or is confused, you will find yourself in the hospital. Let's talk about the nervous system, or let's talk about the nutritional system. If anything you get it wrong, your whole body is in disarray. Why? Because God created your whole body as a system. Even as you are, you don't walk on your head, you walk on your feet. It's part of the system. The moment you begin to walk on your feet, everything is in disarray. So when we are talking about spiritual formation, we have to understand, you have to love order and system. And you have to seek to create system in your mind. Now, let me give you one thing that also is on. You wake up in the morning, you don't brush your teeth. You keep eating every day without brushing your teeth. You don't have your bath. It's just a question of time when you begin stinking, when you begin smelling, when people don't want to come near you. I read the story of a woman of God. From a man of God, Reverend Ajay Tomomi, gave an example of a woman in high position. And she came near him. And she was smelling. But thank God the man was a bold man. He said, "What's wrong with you? Why are you?" He said, "I'm fasting. I'm doing total fasting. I'm not eating, I'm not bathing, and I'm not brushing." He said, "Now I command that fasting to him. Now, go and take care of your body. Go and take care of your body." So if you disrupt your whole system, because brushing in the morning, cleaning your teeth, cleaning your body, you don't say there is no water. You find water to clean your body. At all costs, yes. If you have to damn clean to do your armpits and your groins and everything, because those are the areas where the odor concentrates. If you don't find time to do all those and spray them, you will stink. It means your system is in disorder. It means your system. So we all work with systems, whether we like it or not. Because things only work because there is order and a system in place. So God has a particular template to both in the Old Testament and New Testament to be able to develop for our spiritual formation. Because if God is going to use you, then He has to prepare you in the way He wants to use you. This is what is called spiritual formation. God's preparation for what He wants to use you for. Now, there are many examples in the Old and even in the New. But at time will not allow me to be able to go through. But I want to focus on one person. And that person is the person of David. Why David? Because David was only one person in the Old Testament that lived in the New Testament realities. David was the only one person in the whole of the Old Testament. Abraham didn't, Moses didn't, but Moses, about David did. Because David was a prophet, king, and priest. He lived in the reality of the whole of the New Testament when the New Testament had not yet even showed up. Why? Because of the Spirit of the Lord. The Spirit of the Lord actually singled him out. That today, if anybody is going to talk about anything in this say, they will talk about David. They will talk about David. The Davidic kingdom, the Davidic dynasty. And it's only the Davidic dynasty that God said he will not hate. Because from that Davidic dynasty, Jesus Christ was going to come. So there is perpetuity. And you can then see why God will allow it to operate in those three realms of prophetic, of kingly, and of priestly. When you look at the compilation of the Psalms, 150 Psalms, the number of Psalms that David wrote, they were mostly prophetic. That were highlighting what was going to happen when Jesus will come, when his son will come. And Jesus Christ fulfilled them all. And when you talk about kingly dynasty, kingly rule of David, it was also an indication of what how we're supposed to rule over our enemies. Because David fought throughout his lifetime over his enemies. So we are also engaged in spiritual warfare over our lifetime. So the idea of telling them, devil, what did I do wrong? Leave me alone. It doesn't work. You better let God teach your hands to war and fingers for battle. Because that's what God did for David. God taught his hands for war and his fingers for battle. But what about priestly one? It didn't belong to the Levitical priesthood, but they offered sacrifices to God. Continually. He even heard of the shewbread that they shouldn't eat. It only belongs to the Levites. But when he entered the temple and there was no food, he saw the shewbread. He ate it and gave to others. Jesus Christ referred to it. That David entered into the temple when he was running away from Saul. And he came to, I forgot about he came to Nob. I think that's the city that he came to. He came to Nob. And he was running away from, and he was hungry. He got into the temple. He saw the shewbread. He ate the shewbread. Not only that, in 2 Samuel, I think chapter 30, when God was angry with the land and said, and the angels began to kill the people. And David cried, Lord, why are you killing them? And God gave him an option. Three options. Choose one. Famine in the land, you running after your enemies, your enemies running after you, or there is a third one I can't remember now. David didn't choose any one of them. He just said, God, deal with me. Spare these people. That's his shepherd. He said, no, spare these people. And what did he do? He went to make a sacrifice. And on the hill, around Aruna, or what is it called? Brought the sheep for sacrifice. And he said, I gave it to you. He said, no, I'm not going to offer God what does not cost me. I will pay for the sheep. And what did God do? God stayed the hand of the angel. So when we look at the life of David, we see David is an example of spiritual formation. Why? Because he knew how to operate as a prophet, he knew how to operate as a king, and he knew how to operate as a priest. And you and I have been called to be king and priest unto God, but in a prophetic setting. The church is a prophetic church. Because the spirit of prophecy that was called on the church in Acts chapter 2 on the day of Pentecost is a spirit of prophecy. So the formation of the church started with fulfillment of prophecy and continued with prophecy. And up to today, the church is still a prophetic church. We speak to our generations. We speak to the government. We speak to the sick and the congregants of power. We determine what must be in the nation if we know how to occupy our position. That's dependent on whether we know how to occupy our position. But let's see how God prepared David. The summary of God's daily preparation is given in Psalm 78, 70 to 72. Psalm 78. He said he chose David the servant, just as he chose you. All of us individually were chosen. See your fallen brethren. All that not many know, not many ones who are called, but God chose you. For some of us, we are the rejects of our families, but God chose us anyway. For some of us, we were right off in our family. I know my own story. That I'm a stone that the builders rejected, that has now become the chief cornerstone. So also is your own story. You are a stone thrown away, but has now become a mountain that Lord has leaned on. You are a stone thrown away, but which God has used to build a house, a household that others come and are covered there. Many of us were like that. So here, God showed David. David wasn't the one that everybody would prefer to be again. Remember in 1 Samuel chapter 16, when Samuel came, even his own father didn't think he should be the next king. But God chose David. I want you to say to yourself, God chose me. I am God's choice in my generation. I am God's choice in my family. So I matter. I matter for my generation. I am a blessing to my generation. I am not in curse. God chose me to be a blessing, and my blessing shall manifest. You got to have to be convinced of that. Because if you are not convinced of that, you'll be living your life in the back corner. You won't want to step forward to do what God wants you to do. You may think, who am I? Little me. Please stop thinking of that. There is a place where God will increase and you must decrease. Hallelujah. But when it comes to choice of God, He chose you and you have no option about it. You can't even reject Him, because who has ever rejected Him and prospered? Job 9:4. He says, who has ever rejected this God and has ever prospered? And you know how you got here. How you ran away from the call of God, but nothing ever worked until you said, yes, Lord. Until you said, yes, Lord. Until you say, God, I will do it. But Lord, how am I going to do it? I don't have this and this. And say, God said, I will do it through you. Because the one who calls you is the one who prepares you, and the one who faithful is He who has called you, who will also do it. All what you need is to be cooperative. To cooperate with what He's doing in your life. If He gives you a nudge about something, go ahead and do it. If He said don't do that, because the thing is that God will speak His monosyllables without needing your head to clarify it. To say, God, I don't understand that fully. You can be unpacking it for the rest of your life as you obey one step after the other. He won't show you the end. Or if it shows you the end, it won't take long to get there. But you must just listen to Him, because intermittently along the way, He will be giving you direction. I will instruct you. Psalm 32 verse 8. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my hand. He will guide you with His eye. So now, going back to Psalm 78, 70 to 72, He said, He chose David His servant and took him from the sheepfolds, from following the ewes that had young, He brought him. That is not from following the airways, it's from following the ewes that had young, He brought him to shepherd Jacob His people and Israel His inheritance. So He shepherded them according to the integrity of His heart and guided them by the skillfulness of His hands. You see, the criteria of God is not burdensome. It's not burdensome. Micah 6:7 say, it has been revealed to you, man, what God requires of you. He didn't give you a list. He only said 3 things that God requires of you. So for you and I to fulfill our ministry, only 2 things God requires of us. There is nothing burdensome. There is nothing cumbersome about God's requirement. That's why the preaching of the gospel is foolishness to those that are perishing, because they are expecting gargantuous requirement. But Jesus has said, just believe in me, you will be saved. And so also, thank God for my mom. Sometimes when I'm fasting, my mom said, what are you fasting for? He said, God will do it. I said, I know he will do it, but let me just keep fasting. Well, what has my fasting, what has he done? What has he actually done? Yeah, I will receive a revelation from God, but he does not bribe God to do what he wants to do at the time he wants to do it. He has his own timing. He has the times and he has the seasons. However, to keep me afresh, I say I would still like to just fast and pray. But not because I want to wring his hands and compel him to have to do things. Your fasting doesn't change God, it changes you. It positions you to receive something from the Lord. So, two things here are shown that David were needed for David to fulfill his shepherding. For all pastors, he says, integrity of his heart and the skittiness of his hands. Now, let's talk about the integrity of his heart. The integrity of his heart is in the spiritual formation, and the short word for it is nothing but character development. Because it doesn't matter if you are spitting fire in your mouth and your character is not something to write off his thinking, people won't stay with it. People won't stay with it. I tell people, and that nothing beats a marriage. It's not the beauty of the woman or the handsomeness of the man, but character. Your faithfulness, your loyalty to your spouse, your integrity to your relationship, your commitment to your relationship. The fact you said it, you do it. If you're not able to do it, you go back to say, I can't do it. So, the integrity of your heart. That is the backbone of character development. The backbone, that is the key development, that if you focus on integrity, I will explain to you what integrity means now. And I'll explain it from the background of mathematics that I have. What is integrity? It's a derivative of the word integer. I know many of you don't like maths. You say, look, Pastor, I've left school. And even though I got F9 in maths, I don't want to be reminded of that. But the truth of the matter is that the whole of life is interwoven. If you run away from one thing, you will face it in another place. So you are better just face your weakness, your failure, and say, what is the minimum knowledge I need to have about this thing that will not allow me to be failing in it? So how do I get C6? Not get P7. I can't remember whether they still use P7 now. But as long as I don't have F9, how do I get minimum C6 in this exam? So that when they are talking about multiplication, you can say, yeah, I did that. And they are talking about division, you can say, yeah. It's not a strange word to you. So when we are talking about integrity is derived from the word integer. But what is an integer? Integer is a whole number without any fraction to it. It's not 1/3, it's not 1.75, it's not 1.5. It's one whole number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those numbers are integer. They stand tall. But that means that God wants you to be whole. But your life is not just one whole person. You are a multifaceted person. You are a husband, you are a father, you are a pastor, you are a man, you are a businessman. So what does God therefore want you to do? He wants you to be whole. That is integrating all those areas of your life together to be whole. So that When you are behaving like a father, you are behaving consistently with the way you behave as a pastor, the way you behave as a businessman, the way you behave as any position you occupy. Because we all have multiple caps that we have on our head. So God wants integrity to flow through every area of your life. That's what integrity means. Integrating every aspect of your life. That is, not being somebody of integrity in your workplace, but at home, you are not somebody of integrity. Your wife can't trust your word. And in your workplace, they are afraid to leave you behind. They say, now we are closing, everybody should go out. Yeah, that's because they doubt your integrity. But your boss can leave his room for you, they say for you, and knowing fully whether you won't touch anything there. Because you are a man of integrity. You are an honest person. You don't do eye service. What you do when no one is watching is what you do when somebody is watching. In other words, both your private life and your public life being integrated to be one. And you know, many of us, our public life, people can sing about it, but our private life, it's untouchable. It's despicable. Why? Because our integrity coefficient is very low outside of the public space at home. Now, was it Pastor Sam that was saying, dear Moody was talking about, if people know you as Christian, also Pastor T, if people know you as Christian outside, they should be able to say that you are Christian at home as well. That's integrity. It means you are consistent everywhere. You are honest at home, you are honest outside. They don't send you an naira to go and buy something and there is change of 300 naira. You pocket it and say, well, what is 300 naira? Still give it back. Let the person who sent you an naira and say to himself that you can keep it. Not the more, put my paper tell anyone so you baba. I say, Mama, sorry, say, but can integrity in your baba? Ìṣòótọ́ ni kò jẹ́ olóòótọ́ àti olódodo ènìyàn nínú iṣẹ́ rẹ both ní kọ̀rọ̀ àti ní gbangba. Kò jẹ́ olóòtítọ́ torí that is how spiritual. One God is much more interested. Some of you think that it is what you do for the Lord that is of utmost importance to God. No! It is what you become. It is what you become that is of most important to God. Because God knows your work on that will stop one day. But your life continues after this earth. Until it doesn't matter iṣẹ́ tó ṣe o ní wọ̀run o ní wọ̀jọba ọ̀run o. Because the kingdom of God is the kingdom of righteousness. It's the kingdom of righteousness. I was sharing in our church on Sunday, Revelation chapter 19, verse 8. Only aṣọ àwọn tó dúró níwájú òtẹ́, ó ní aṣọ mímọ́ ní aṣọ wọn, ó ní aṣọ funfun ní aṣọ wọn, ó ní ṣùgbọ́n aṣọ funfun wọn yìí come from their righteous act, iṣẹ́ òdodo wọn. So tó bá lérò pé you are righteous but you don't do righteous act, aṣọ rẹ ilé ègbé ni o, ègbé ni aṣọ rẹ o. Oh, ní wọ̀jọba ọ̀run o. So, ohun tó dẹ̀ ní láti ṣe pé Olúwa, bí mo ṣe jẹ́ kọ̀rọ̀ náà mo ṣe fẹ́ jẹ́ gbangba, bí mo ṣe jẹ́ gbangba mo ṣe fẹ́ jẹ́ kọ̀kọ̀ ní kọ̀rọ̀ o. Mi ò ní sọ pé mo jẹ́ olóòótọ́ níta, mi ì jẹ́ olóòótọ́ lé. Ifá ilé ló tiẹ̀ ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ gan pàápàá. Inú ilé ló ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ nígbà tí o ṣe nǹkan tó ń wò ẹ́. Ló ti máa jẹ́ olóòtítọ́ fún ara ẹ fọ́sọ̀ fún ọ. Torí tó o bá jẹ́ olóòtítọ́ fún ara ẹ, o lè jẹ́ olóòtítọ́ fún ènìyàn mi. And you know what? Many of us a máa ń tanra wa jẹ. A fẹ́ gbọ́ òtítọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ nípa ọ̀rọ̀ ara wa. Lẹ́yìn kan bá bẹ̀ sọ̀tọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ pé nǹkan tó ń ṣe yìí ò dá wàá dì mú. Wàá bá yà pé kí ni tó ń sọ fún mi? Instead to your show and then sit down and reflect. And pay see one day nobody no nobody kìnnì kan ṣe kìnnì kan yẹn máa ń pa wọn ní kìnnì kan tó wà pa bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn. That's it. Wọ́n bá ní kí orí fún kìnnì nǹkan yẹn. Wàá pa fún ẹ mọ́. Bọ̀ rárá wọ́n á rò pé ó ṣe ní láti máa sọ̀rọ̀ pa fún mi. Ó ní fún ẹ. I am speaking to myself as well as I'm speaking to you because we are all leaders. And to whom much is given, much is expected. So it's important that you are not only honest when things favor you, but you are honest at all times. Wọ́n pa owó ìjọ mọ́ owó rẹ̀, rádà lẹ́tí owó rẹ̀ kó ráńdì owó ìjọ. Àwọn nǹkan tí owó ìjọ ò lè ká, tówó rẹ̀ bá wà ńbẹ̀, mọ́ bò wípé ṣe kọ́ ṣáà jẹ mí lówó. Well, you have the right to take it back, not right to take more than you are putting there. And it's got to have to be followed. It's got to be transparent enough. So, essence of nǹkan tí mo ń sọ yìí, ó ní pípé ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ kó jẹ́ bọ́ọ̀lì rẹ. You don't make vows at the altar of God before many witnesses to your wife or your husband and keep breaking those vows through infidelity. Before ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn tiẹ̀ ti wá sùn ní báyìí, there was a man I follow on YouTube tó máa ń indicate àwọn atọ́kùnrin àtọ́bìnrin but more obìnrin than ọkùnrin. Tó máa fi ọkọ wọn sílẹ̀ tó máa ṣàgbèrè. Tó máa bá àwọn èèyàn sùn yóò tẹ́ ẹ̀. Tọ́kọ yẹn dẹ́ ọkọ yẹn ẹ̀dẹ̀rẹ́ tó ti náwó many of them ọkùnrin akọ̀dẹ̀ fi wọ́n lé àkọ́ padà lọ sílé ìyá ilé bàbá wọn. Wọ́n ti ná. They are not in 20s and 30s, in hundreds. Mo ní irú ayé wò wá. Nàìjíríà yìí dẹ̀ yìí o. Ní Nàìjíríà yìí ni o. Àwọn tó jẹ́ pé àwọn ọmọ wọn kì í ṣe fọ́kàn àlè náà bí àwọn ọmọ yẹn fún. Tẹ́yìn wọn lọ ṣe DNA test to find out. Tí ìyàwó yẹn wá bẹ̀bẹ̀, irú ẹ̀bẹ̀ ìlànà owó tó wá bẹ̀rẹ̀. Ó ṣe àkọ́kọ́, ó ṣe ti kejì, ó ṣe ti kẹta, ó ṣe kẹ̀kẹ́ rí. Ó dẹ̀ ọkùnrin náà náwó lórí àwọn ọmọ yìí. Nǹkan kan ló ṣẹlẹ̀ tó wò pé kẹ́kọ̀ọ́ lọ ṣe DNA test wọn. Ó wá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí pẹ́pẹ́ kó jọ wá. Irú ẹ̀bẹ̀ ìlànà owó nìyẹn náà. Tó bá dé mi, Jésù ni ó hold mi back in. Orí àjà tí ń gbá ọkọ rí. I'm telling you, wọ́n ti bẹ orí káàkiri already. Kí tó wá realize pé orí èèyàn kò mọ̀ pé kí n máa sì ní. Because how could that happen? Somebody you have trusted with your life. In fact, let me tell you the name of the guy. The honor is what is called on Facebook or YouTube. The honor. You will be sure. You will be sure. You will be sure. Ìyàwó ilé tó máa mú ọkùnrin méjì wá sínú ilé láti wá bá ṣùgbọ́n àti ọkọ òsì nílé tí ó dẹ̀ mọ̀ pé àwọn aládìpọ̀ ti sọ fún ọkọ ẹ̀ pé àwọn kan máa ń wálé tó bá sílé tó wá dé ọdẹ ó dẹ̀ bá yàwó ẹ̀ pẹ̀lú àwọn ọkùnrin méjì lórí bẹ́ẹ̀dì. Ó ti bímọ mẹ́ta fún un. Ó ní kò satisfy wọn. Ẹ bá jẹ́ àṣọ yín bọ́, ẹ jẹ́ continue. That's part of spiritual formation, huh? That you be whole, you be faithful to your vows. You be faithful to your vows. If you have to die fulfilling your vows, die and fulfill your vows. Be faithful. Semper fidelis. Whatever it costs you, remain faithful to your spouse. Torí Ọlọ́run máa dájọ́ àìṣèlú gbogbo. Ǹtẹ́ bá dẹ̀ bò mọ́lẹ̀ sí tẹ́ ní pé kò sí tá bò mọ́lẹ̀ tọ́lọ́mọ ò ní túká tí ò ní fi hàn. mi ò plan fún gbogbo tí mo sọ yìí o, ṣùgbọ́n ó ń bá àwọn kan o. Ifá àwọn tó jẹ́ òjìṣẹ́ Ọlọ́run gan pàápàá. Táwọn máa káwọn bẹ́ẹ̀ tó máa ní I'm a man of God. I feel like slapping them through my phone. But which man of God are you? Which stupid man of God are you? I am a man of God. A man of God pẹ̀lú ọmọ ọjọ́ ẹ. Wọ́n dẹ̀ ló wẹ́ẹ̀dì àtọ̀kọ́ ẹ̀ together. Ìwọ ló cancel wọn. Wọ́n dẹ̀ ló bá ní di ìṣekúṣe. Once you are a man of God. I feel like a man of Satan is not a man of God. So, integrity therefore is making your spirit, soul, and body blameless before God and before others. Not only before God, before others. Before others. When I see you as a man of integrity, I can give you my life. I'll give you my life. Say, whatever you want. Is that the way you want? Because I think you are speaking from integrity. Okay, let's do it that way. But the moment Timbat is what I should do, I will go as far as. And I'm not being because I don't know how not to trust people. I don't know how not to trust men. So the moment Timbat realized to know, mo jẹ́ wá dúpẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run pẹ̀lú àwọn tọ́lọ́run fi yí mi ká olódodo ènìyàn ni wọ́n. Káwọn ẹ bá ní ojú Ọlọ́run ẹjọ́. Tẹ̀símọ́nì rẹ̀ nìyẹn olódodo àwọn ènìyàn ni wọ́n. Olódodo àwọn ènìyàn. Tó bá jẹ́ ti jẹ́ olódodo àwọn ènìyàn. Olódodo. Whatever it is, whatever sacrifice I can make to make your life okay, I will make it. Ẹ̀kọ́ ọ̀gbọ́n tí David kan sọ fún rẹ̀. About our character development at the end of his life. 2 Samuel chapter 23, verse 20. 1 to 3. This is David speaking of the summary of his life. Only these are the last words. 2 Samuel chapter 23, 1 to 3. 1 to 3. It's now, these are the last words of David. The redactor wrote it. Thus says David, the son of Jesse. Thus says the man raised up on high, the anointed of the God of Jacob, and the sweet psalmist of Israel. This is David describing himself. The Spirit of the Lord spoke by me, and his word was on my tongue. The God of Israel said to me, the Rock of Israel spoke to me, he who rules over men must be just, ruling in the fear of God. That's the summary. No wonder in Psalm 78, 72, they say, he ruled by the integrity of his heart and the skillfulness of his hands. David made it a choice to say, because, brethren, as long as you live, you will make choices every day. And your choices will always be based on your integrity. So, if I go for to buy a I don't think we go for your way. I go for our way. Tí o fẹ́ purọ́ fún ọ̀gá ẹ̀, àbò fẹ́ purọ́ fún ọmọọṣẹ́. David ní Olúwa sọ fún mi wípé ẹnikẹ́ni tó bá máa jọba lórí ènìyàn, ó ní láti jẹ́ ènìyàn tó jẹ́ just olódodo, ó ní láti jẹ́ olóòótọ́ àti ẹni tó bẹ̀rù Olúwa. That's the summary of character formation. Ó ní láti jẹ́ olóòótọ́ àti ẹni tó bẹ̀rù Olúwa. Pé tí n máa ṣe nǹkan báyìí sí ẹni yìí, tí èèyàn kan bá ṣe sí mi, ṣé màá gbà ṣá? Ṣé màá gbà? Ṣé wàá tẹ́ mi lọ́rùn? In fact, yeah, my one is, that's the reason why I cannot manipulate my wife. We've been married now going to 37 years. In 4 months' time, no, I'll be 37. I'm as transparent as I can be to her. I even told her, look, I'll put in a password, you see, passport to my account, passport to this, passport to that. This is the password. To try it, to try it, to try it. Why? Because no way, kill no hide. Tí o bá mọ̀ tí bá náà yẹn kan ní tí bá náà yẹn kan lọ́wọ́ eventually ó máa sọ fún náà ni. But you didn't tell me. Torí I'm quite spontaneous. Sometimes bí n bá ti rò ó máa ṣe straight away. N bá ti ṣe rò ó Would you not share straight to me? So sometimes I don't even remember. I need to discuss it with my wife. But she don't do one on the way. Me my tea suffer. You can suffer. So what am I saying? The fear of God should be the guiding principle of your life as a minister of the gospel. Because that is what will make you to develop and look like Jesus. It is said in the summary of this rulership. Then the God of Israel said, this rock of Israel spoke to me. So God who spoke to David is also speaking to you because you are like David. Yes. You are a prophet, king, and priest. So God is saying, he who rules over men must be just, ruling in the fear of God. So it's 10 ways to success. 5 ways to creating wealth. How can my business be successful? Huh? 20 ways to chase out demons. Me, what demons get chase out? God, they finish chasing them to all this while. Sometimes ourselves are our own demons. And as we cast out our own demons, can I tell you the truth? There is a demon of my family that I have to be talking and say, hey, ṣùgbọ́n kò ní ìbàjẹ́ ló pọ̀ Jésù as long as I realize it. Torí I come from a family tó jẹ́ pé ogun àti ìjà ni all the time. And I don't smell fight. Oh, the demon will arise to say, you must not back out. But how could you be fighting in your whole home and ever build it? Each time I fight my wife, I lose. And yet I don't stop fighting her. And I know it's the demon of my family. Because the relative why they don't know Kuni. They don't know Kuni. Ogedengbe. Àwọn tí wọ́n ti dàgbà tá a jọ dàgbà wọ́n ọ̀dọ̀ lẹ́ni ìjà oníjà ni màá dẹ̀dà wọ́n dẹ̀ lọ ṣépè sí mi. Ọ̀dọ́ wọn pé ìjà oníjà ni wọ́n lọ ṣépè sí mi. Because the next day you sọ́kùn méjì tó wọ́n jù gbéjà lọ. I have been praying to God, Lord. This family nonsense here, this pattern, Lord, take it away from my life. I don't want it. I really don't want it. So if there is any demon one of us need to fight consistently, is a demon who will be delivered. Demon, mo ti ṣẹ́gun demon àìrówó náà àìríwọn àìrí, mo ti ṣẹ́gun yẹn. Ṣùgbọ́n ti ìbínú yìí, ti ìjà yìí, Jésù ti ṣẹ́gun fún mi, ẹ bá ń dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Jésù. Kí ju aṣẹ́gun lọ nípa ètò fẹ́mi. Kò ju aṣẹ́gun lọ lórúkọ Jésù. So that is the issue of the character development we are talking about here. Torí Bíbélì ní in 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 24. Can you give it out to me? I didn't have it written here. It says, a servant of the Lord must be gentle, must not strive. So a servant of the Lord that is gentle cannot always be fighting. Yeah, it is. A servant of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle unto women. How to teach and patient. Nishuru. And I'm going to realize that no big situations to you go. Don't you know what you move with? Then you need to get him back to right. And the money, the idea on the situations they will run away. In fact, they will confront you. But why are you so slow to bring it? That's part of it. You wait patiently for God to give you this word. So when it comes to spiritual formation, it's about character development. First of all, the second one is skills acquisition. In spiritual formation. Skill. Can you use your skill again? No? Huh? Huh? Mo gbọ́ pé ọ̀pá àtinúdá ni skill. Oh, okay, ọgbọ́n àtinúdá. So the next one, that's the second pillar of your character spiritual formation, is skill acquisition. Somebody will say, what is spiritual about skill? Everything, because you don't have a separate spiritual life and separate other life. Everything is interwoven. So, to be skill acquisition, you know, not man was spiritually developed, spiritually formed. And when it comes to skill acquisition that David had, he said he had, but he guarded them with the skillfulness of his hands. So he has skills to rule over people. So you also must have skills to deal with people. And where does that skill? What are those two skills that you need? Psalm 23, 1-6. Psalm 23 is the classical manual for pastoral ministry. Just 6 verses, but everything is contained there. Don't need that is a share on share faithfully, or that rule or ilé faithfully is already also involved in Psalm 23. Now Psalm 23 says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." I want you to notice something. The one who is saying the Lord is my shepherd, who is it? So if the Lord is a shepherd, what is he himself? He's a sheep. So you have to see yourself as a sheep. In your church, you are just 4 sheep among many. You have to see yourself as a sheep. You don't always look at yourself as a shepherd, the shepherd over these people. You are also a sheep. Only that all animals are equal. But some are more equal than the other. And it's just their responsibilities that make them more equal than the other. It's your responsibility that gave you a pedestal over God's people. You don't own them. You don't own them, so you can't control them. In fact, you can't control anybody. God's giving us dominion over things, not over people. You don't dominate people. You don't manipulate people. You don't control people. The moment you begin to do that, you have become a witch. Or if you are not correct, you have become a wizard. But you can tell people what you want. If you have a pastor under you, you tell him what you want. The vision God has given you. Tell him, follow this order, follow this thing. Because it is in following that he will find his own. He will find his own ministry and develop his own ministry. You are there to guide. But if you say, the man can't breathe, the woman can't breathe, your wife can't breathe, your husband can't breathe, you have become a witch. You have become a wizard. So David here recognizes that I am a sheep, but I'm the first sheep. I'm the first sheep among many sheep in Israel. He said, I shall not want. So just as you are teaching your people to know how to look up to God to provide them, you also do the same. Looking up to God to provide for you. And when God has done it, you are able to teach them to say, this is how you believe God. This is how you activate the power of God in your mind. This is how I do it. This is how I get testimonies. But I'm going to ask you a question. I said, there are 2 skills that every pastor must have. We have talked about character formation. Integrity as the cornerstone of character formation. What is attached to integrity? Loyalty, faithfulness, every other thing is attached to integrity. But when we talk about skillfulness of design, there are only 2 also. Don't require a door key. Police write these 10 things down. Only 2 things or 3 things you would ask. And so there are only 2 skills that you must have. The first skill is, let me ask you this question. Verse 2, what does verse 2 say? Verse 2 say, the what? It said the shepherd makes you to lie down in green pasture. What skill is that? What skill is that? Obedience. Okay, anybody else? Anybody else? I want to be, you see, I decided to want to get you involved now. So If you have been sleeping, you will say, wiki. Kò sí price bó bá gbà láti bó ti gbà rọ́ǹdì látọ̀nà kó jókòó náà ni. So, ẹnìkan sọ pé obedience, disobedience.